Welcome back, everybody. How are you all? All good? Yes. Oh, my days, you can do better than that. I like the woo. Who gave us the woo? Yes, that's the example I'm talking about. Look, we all. I hope you've all enjoyed this morning's session and have had the opportunity to network and digest the brilliant panels over lunch. My name's Adir Depitan, TV presenter, Paralympian. I don't know why I'm reading this. I know who I am. That's clearly me on here. and I'm delighted to be moderating the panel, which is kindly sponsored by Sky. Thank you very much. The panel's going to be taking a deep dive into the realities and opportunities of the freelancer recruitment landscape in 2026. And as part of that, we'll also be unpacking how these challenges are often amplified for disabled and diverse freelancers, as well as spotlighting the practical solution focused support the TV Access project provides. One of Sky's key objectives is around increasing access for disabled freelancers across their productions. Now, joining me, as you can see, is my very talented panel. We have Ali Castle, MBE, creative strategist and disability consultant.
I said not to mention it. Listen, don't wait for the MBEs because there's more to come.
Yes. Sam Tatlow, NBE, Head of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion at ITV. VJ Davidson, soon to be MBE. Soon. Talent consultant, and Vic Roy, founder, Vic Roy, soon to be MBE as well, founder Vic Roy Talent. Guys, are you happy to say a few words to introduce yourselves? Please, Ali, start.
Yeah, so I'm Ali Castle, MBE, and I'm an independent consultant and advisor working across the industry, particularly in the field of disability inclusion on-screen and off-screen. That is I.
Hello. Oh, it is on. Right. I'm VJ Davidson, no MBE. I am a freelance talent consultant. I also work for the Directors Charitable Foundation, who is the charitable arm of Directors UK. So all screen directors, everybody from Danny Boyle, Sam Mendes, Nicky Parsons, the whole shebang. So look after all of those directors as well. So I do comms and social medias with them.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Tatlow. I'm the Head of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion at ITV, and I'm also here representing and talking a little bit more about the TV Access project and representing all of the broadcasters who are part of that work, so we're talking a bit more about that too.
Hi everyone, I'm Vic Roy. I've been a talent person now for about 20 plus years, starting at the BBC, then Channel 4, then I was at Fremantle for 4 years, made redundant, and didn't know what else to do, so set up my own consultancy, working with lots of different production companies across the UK.
Ladies and gentlemen, our fantastic panel. Thank you. And right now, I feel like some sort of Professor Xavier leading some disabled, diverse talent. And this is the crew for revolution. This is the revolution. It starts here with you guys. Let's start off with our first question on freelancer challenges. And let's start by reflecting on the recruitment challenges that TV freelancers are facing right now, and the real impact that they're having on sustaining a freelancer career. In short, it's been tough. It's been hard, and we feel you guys. You know, being ghosted after applying for a role is an ongoing industry. Vic, can you talk to us a little bit more about how tough it is in the industry at the moment with all these different obstacles?
Yeah. Ghosting happens. I get ghosted as well. I'm running a business as well as kind of trying to find people jobs. And when I'm trying to find, new work to advertise, I get ghosted as well. And I was coming down on the train, hoping the Wi-Fi was going to work, thinking, I just need to make sure I'm on top of all my replies. But, I find it really difficult. I'll be really honest with you. I try make sure there are systems and processes in place, which means everybody gets a really strong automatic reply with lots of information on it. And I pin everybody that I don't reply to straight away. But I think that talent managers are at the front line and they get quite a lot of stick. I don't think I've ever met a talent manager that purposely ignores people or ghosts people. I think it's really important to understand from both perspectives. I understand what it's like to lose a job, not to get a job. I've been in that situation myself. But I also think that there is also a person at the other end of a talent manager role. And, you know, I've been called things on social media after particular posts. I was called a lazy recruiter. I've seen people named and shamed. And I'm here to just kind of say that it's not brilliant and we're all trying to improve and processes, and hopefully some of the stuff that comes out of Action for Freelancers will help and give people some guidance. But I think it happens, it's not brilliant, and everyone's trying to improve.
I guess in this climate at the moment, because things have been so difficult over the last couple of years, there's actually more of emphasis on not being ghosted and being polite and responding to people, because people are struggling right now, and to not have that response has a real impact and a dent on people's confidence. Can you talk to us a bit more about this, Vic?
Yeah, I totally agree. And like Vic said, I'm a freelancer as well, and I have been ghosted as well. And I was saying to our producer, Belle, the other day that, I applied for a role that I thought I was absolutely perfect for. And I'm not going to lie, I was. And I haven't heard a dicky bird from them. And I'm just like, hang on a minute. Not even to say, oh, hi, but no thanks, nothing. And I was just like, that's just rude. And so as somebody who works in recruitment and whatever, I always do make the effort. And Vic's absolutely right. It's a big job. You do have to clear a section of your diary every day just to do replies, especially if there are like speculative emails as well to you. So it is hard going. But one thing I will say as well is that it's very rare that the talent manager is the hiring manager. Okay. And so people need to understand that as well. As talent consultants, our job is to put freelancers in front of the person who's actually going to make the decision. And that's very rarely us.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, VJ, because often, you go in and you feel like you're speaking to the person who's going to make the decision, and you put your best face on, you give it all, and then you find out that actually that person hasn't got the power.
Yeah.
And there's something structural there that needs to be changed.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, the talent management role is that it's a newish role, right? Because it came in sort of like, I don't know, probably about 20, 25 years ago, maybe. And before that, it was the production manager. The production manager would basically put the team together. But the production manager's got so much more to do now because they're doing everything, that now they brought talent managers in to help with the actual recruitment and the building of the team. And most talent managers have been TV or film producers, or they've worked in the industry, so they know the skills and talents that are required, and the challenges that there might be, etc. And so most talent managers are former program makers, which is good. So we understand what is needed and we understand how freelancers feel. What I would say is, having that person in the room that is actually making the decision that's key for me. So like, if I can get somebody in front of the person and I can be in the room as well, and I can give I can give the hiring manager, a heads up and say, they've done this, they've done that, and they're really, really good, etc. That helps. But it's very rare that the talent manager and the hiring manager will be in the same room when they're interviewing.
But I think we have to be real as well, is that there just are fewer jobs at the moment. And therefore, the number of people applying for each role is exponentially bigger. And it's really tricky, right? Because there's these big structural things that we've talked about, some of which have started 25 years ago. But it is just the way that it is at the moment. And we also talk a lot about sort of closed networks and who everybody knows and that sort of thing, which is another issue around recruitment. But it always was like that, right? And we all started about 25 years ago. And it was also, there was an element of that. It's just that everything is amplified now and it's kind of reached a sort of point where it feels unsustainable for the people on the ground. And it isn't the same as it was 25 years ago. But I think there's an element of pragmatism that we have to apply here. Like, we have fewer commissions, therefore fewer roles, therefore it's going to be more competitive. And I don't envy anyone navigating that, but at the same time, nothing we do in this room or anything we could do as individuals is going to sort of change that. So it's like, how do we work within that reality rather than harping back to 25 years ago?
And talking about working within that, if there are fewer roles, as you're saying, isn't there an onus to make sure that the system works better? Because you want to take away as many obstacles as possible, make it smoother.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we need a system that is really reflects the way things are going at the moment, and we're probably stuck in old systems and we haven't transitioned into a new way of doing things. But I do know that Action for Freelancers has got a whole massive work stream on that very topic of recruitment and putting together sort of gold standard best practice, realistic processes. In an ideal world, every job would be advertised, right, on a public platform, and I think that's what that's likely to be the recommendation. In reality, is that going to happen? Certainly not straight away. But we just sort of, like you say, need to take a step back and look at the system, and if the system is fit for purpose for the way that the industry now works. But we're in that sticky transition phase, in my opinion, at the moment. Yes. And disproportionately underrepresented minoritized groups are going to be the ones that have, that are more negatively affected.
Yeah, talking about that, Sam.
I was going to say, I think it's fundamentally like a problem with supply and demand, isn't it? There's lots of people and not as many opportunities out there. And what the opportunities that used to be out there that enabled people to create those gaps, fill those gaps within their careers, no longer exists anymore. So how do we support everybody to make the right decisions? I think we're, as Ali was saying, we're in that kind of middle period where we're still following old processes whilst still whilst in a new era of television where actually we all need to be working slightly differently. And as Vic was saying, I don't think there's anybody who's in these roles thinking that they want to let people down or deliberately make slow decisions or not get back to people. But I think everybody is really aware of the challenge that freelancers are under at the moment, and it's about how we can support you all with getting into the right roles that are right for you with the skills that you've got. I don't know. I think we're still in that stage where we need to work through that.
Look, we talked a little bit, Ali, you mentioned a little bit about closed networks and people calling their mates, and I mean that's super frustrating, isn't it, Vic? Yeah, and I'm sure people out here, it's the last thing you want to hear is that you're going for a job and it's already done because it's been kept in-house.
Yeah, I've always been a massive believer in advertising as much as I possibly can. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I do. I think probably 90% of the jobs that come across my desk I advertise. There are some, obviously, that you can't for whatever reason I can't. But 90% of the jobs I do advertise, and I've heard all the excuses about why jobs aren't advertised, and it's, green light's too late. I don't take that one, because if I get told...
Elaborate on that.
So if I get told, right, we need, some of the team to start on Monday and it's Friday morning, that happens, but I can get an ad out in 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
And I would say the majority of applications now, I only use Talent Bases, and that, for me, is a brilliant platform. It allows people to kind of do really quick cover notes, CV updates or whatever, and I get the majority of CVs through within the first 12 to 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So it is possible.
There's no excuse.
There's absolutely no excuse for quick turnaround. That's one thing I don't buy.
Yeah.
Because I think it's personal. And, there is some of the things come down to money. I'll get asked to hire senior roles on productions because they don't want to pay for me to find a whole team. And that's fine. I get that. However, when I'm hiring those 3 seniors through a really transparent recruitment process, those jobs are being advertised. And then when I'm kind of, can you quote us for finding, the rest of the casting team or the rest of the PDs or whatever it is? And I give that might be 2 or 3 days of my time. That's the cost. No freelance. I never charge freelance for anything. And then I get an email 2 hours later, stop, because we filled that through WhatsApp groups. And then I do go back and I go, that's really disappointing because you've got your job through a recruitment process, which you were allowed to apply for, you had interviewed and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But you're not giving that to people, more junior to you. You're not passing on that opportunity. Because it is very easy. If you are you're running a casting team, you can put your own, it's not ideal, but at least put it on socials. Don't revert to those bloody WhatsApp groups.
So, look, we're going to move on in shortly, but quickly, because I think that's a really important point. What do we do about it? Put it out there.
Well, I think what Vic's saying is that she calls it out, and I think we just all need to call it out, and those of us in potentially, more senior roles and who have that, influence, I think we just it just has to stop. I do a lot of work for Channel 4, and we create networks of talent that support each other, and we're explicit. If we put you in contact with each other, you are not to advertise jobs between each other. You can support each other in your career progression. Huge issue for mid-level disabled talent in particular, to keep progressing in their career. But any opportunities come through us, and we will put it out to the wider group. Don't keep it in those closed groups. So we just have to call it out, and we have to just stop doing it.
And also, I think if we're thinking about the opportunities that are available, and then put the lens of inclusion over the top of that, it just exponentially makes the situation worse. And actually, we're in the situation at the moment with the industry. We were just saying around kind of the number of opportunities. But if we think back, I don't know when it was, 3 years ago, when we were in kind of a bit of a boom moment where nobody could get enough work and everybody was moving between job to job to job quicker because actually there was too much work out there. At that time, producers and people who were crewing up for their productions were meeting lots and lots of new people and having to, because they needed to, because they couldn't get their usual people. So what we're saying to our teams quite a lot at the moment is, look, I know that there are less opportunities out there, and we know that you need to work with people who you know are going to deliver, but you met some great people before as well when there were less people around. So rather than just crewing up with all of your mates, make sure that you are thinking about all the people that you met before, because actually everyone is looking for work at the moment. It's not just people who are underrepresented, it's everybody. So making sure that we're really thinking about the broad range of people that are in your network when you are that casting producer and crewing up for your team, for example. So just thinking about actually who are the people that you're giving the opportunities to, because we've all got to take that half a second to take a step back before we make any decisions. And that's the point about us calling it out and asking the questions when before those decisions are being made.
Brilliant. Look, when it comes to disabled and diverse freelancers, the impact is also this is amplified. What are the other challenges that disabled and diverse freelancers are facing?
Well, from my perspective, I think what's really, I think about, I wasn't in the industry 25 years ago, Ali, because I'm...
Okay. Some of us were, weren't we?
Yeah, just watching the content that you were producing.
Just for context, all those of us worked in kids, so what she's saying is she was really young.
Can we remove that MBE for smugness?
I'm joking. I completely lost my train of thought. What was the question? Sorry.
No, just
barriers. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. If you think back to how we all built our careers before, it was a bit of a jigsaw of those big contracts, and then filled with those smaller contracts or those big shiny, impressive credits that were then stopgaps with those more kind of factency, daytimey type things. a lot of that has disappeared now. And for people who are underrepresented in the industry, whether you're a person of colour or you're disabled, quite often your career, large chunks of your career were filled with those stopgappy type credits. And because those have disappeared, building your career around what is left in the industry is even more challenging. So building 12 months of work actually has become really hard. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, I don't need to tell you this, because you all know this more than we do. So that's the hard bit. But then also, how to fill those gaps between contracts is really difficult, because, if I was a freelancer now, if I had a gap in between telly jobs, I wouldn't be able to go and work in a bar, or I wouldn't be able to go and I would try, wouldn't pull a very good time. And I would just be too chatty, but also I wouldn't be able to reach the pumps. So, there are challenges around how you are able to fill the gaps between jobs that actually others might find it a bit easier to do. So I know there was a session earlier about portfolio careers. That portfolio needs to look different. And are those opportunities out there that you'd be able to fill it with? I think that's a really hard bit, and I don't know the answer to that.
And for disabled talent in particular, there are just literal barriers anywhere, and there always have been, even when the work was abundant, right? So I was involved in a survey, I think it was 2022, we did it, of offices of indies and broadcasters and other organisations across the industry, and we found that 1 in 4 of those offices were not step-free. So 1 in 4 of the jobs, in theory, that are advertised, I can't, get through the door, literally. So I think that is still going on in the background. That hasn't changed, And so, as well as all the competition, as well as the fact that disabled talent tend to not want to relocate for semi-obvious reasons. So you can't always follow a neat career trajectory because you don't want to move around the country only doing quiz shows. So you might do kids or a bit of drama or a bit of daytime in your local area. So your CV doesn't look the same, and if you physically can't get in the buildings, then the mountain is really high, and we all disabled people love mountains, by the way. Don't they, Danny?
I mean, basically you're saying because of the structural and physical barriers that society puts in front of us, we can't be as flexible.
Exactly that, exactly. And at the moment, what every freelancer needs to survive is that flexibility, but we don't have necessarily that privilege.
That's why it always drives me bonkers when you hear people in the government or in politics saying it's so easy to get disabled people back into work, just get back into work, it's fine. Well, and what about the tubes? What about the 25% of buildings that are not accessible that you're mentioning?
Also access to work, which is a government fund.
Don't start that.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I guess we all know about that then.
No, you can.
So for those of you that don't know, Access to Work is theoretically an amazing fund that is available to support disabled people in any industry to work for all the additional costs that it might incur. But it is 90% of people are getting turned down, something ridiculous about the number of people who are not getting coverage, and people who are trying to renew their access to work. Has this happened to you?
I've never got it. I've applied for the first time about a year and a half ago, and I was told there was 48,000 on the list.
Yeah, it's 9 to 10 months before your application will get looked at. Guys, when did you sit around with a contract in 9-10 months' time? So you can't. Anyway, add it's because you've got an MB and a bloody Paralympic medal. They're like, he can sort himself out.
Taxi for a deputy. Accessible taxi for a deputy.
No. So physically, literally, they won't pay for me to get taxis, and I'm supposed to navigate the tube system. That's bullshit. Like, I just can't take certain jobs, because of that. So, big issues. I sound moany. I'm just highlighting challenges. We are going to talk about solutions, right?
Yes.
We're not going to solve access to it, by the way.
No, we are. Look, getting into those solutions, let's talk a bit more about the TV Access project and the positive work that they do for freelancers. So, for people who are unfamiliar with TAP, Sam, could you give us a lowdown of of what TAP does.
Sure, and then I think Ali's going to mark my homework.
Ali was one of the founders.
Yes,
so
yeah. Ali was one of the founders. So the TV Access project was launched in 2023 following the Jack Thorne McTaggart lecture at Edinburgh Television Festival. It is a collaboration of the 9 broadcasters and streamers in the UK, including Sky, who's sponsoring this session, ITV, BBC, Channel 4, and the others. And basically, it is a collaboration between all of us working together to create a pan-broadcaster solution to creating what we aim for full inclusion by 2030. That work has been going on, and what I think is the best bit about it is that, individually as broadcasters, we were all doing work in this space already and individually kind of creating some of the solutions. But we weren't able to do it together collaboratively for lots of reasons, I'm sure. But the TV Access project has created that ability for us to work together. So there's 9 work streams looking at a variety of different areas of work, whether that is access funding, so how productions can access funding to pay for access on their productions, or whether it is looking at the access audit work for studios and spaces, looking at education and training materials. There's lots of work happening, and on those work streams there are representatives from the broadcasters, the partners, disabled-led organisations working in the industry, as well as freelancers and people working on productions. So actually, similar to Action for Freelancers, it's an opportunity for us to be creating solutions that will actually work and aren't just thought about and developed by people who sit in offices like I do, where we think something might work, but actually on the ground we're not doing it. So it's created some really great resources and some really great solutions, which I think are starting to create some real change for the industry.
Yeah, it's what we need. Just quickly before we move on, can we have a show of hands? How many people here know about the TAP and what they do? Yeah, it's not, I would say, what's that, 15% of the audience, which is not high enough, is it?
No, but we're trying. I agree. I think as well, it's up on freelancers. We really want freelancers to feel empowered by the work it's doing. So it's like Sam says, it's not just top down. It's collaborative. But there are resources out there, and we're working really hard with indies as well as broadcasters to get the message out there. If you go on Screen Skills, there's amazing loads of resources if you're a disabled freelancer for navigating the industry and things like that. But yeah, please spread the word. Also, because as Sam mentioned, when it comes to funding, those 9 broadcasters and streamers have pledged to fund access on their productions on top of production budgets. That is huge. When I was, started in the industry, it was productions were having to find bits of cash to help you out, and therefore they just weren't hiring disabled people. So us as disabled freelancers can go to our production and say that, there is money for you. Go to the broadcaster or the commissioning body, get the money so that I can have the adjustments that I need, and it won't have to come out of the budget.
VJ, tell us a bit more about your thoughts on TAP and also those wonderful purple trainers you've got.
Thanks. TAP, I worked on a project called Rise at Raw, so for Raw TV. And I went in there and I was asked to kind of create a new sort of work experience program. So a pipeline to get people in with disabilities, people from ethnic minority backgrounds, and people from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And so that's like my bag, really. Those are the kind of people that I'm really sort of championing in the industry. And I think what you have to do is you have to make things equitable for people to apply to, So I changed it all up. I said, right, we're not hiring people's next door neighbours' kids that have to do work experience for 2 weeks and all this kind of stuff. No interest in TV whatsoever, but, they've got to tick that box for school, etc. I said, right, for a start, everybody's got to be over 18 because they are going to work and they will be paid. And I need to know that if I send Johnny down to the shops, to go and get some props or something, they are going to be able to do that. as an adult. And so I think you have to make ways so that people can apply for roles properly, be interviewed properly, and everybody has the same questions, and people also have the ability to apply, and also the gumption to apply, because I think, I don't know about you, but I was the first person in my family to go into TV or the arts, My family are all doctors and nurses and engineers and stuff. And so going into TV, I was always said, that you need to get a proper job though, and I said, but I think you can make a career out of TV. And my mum was like, okay, but maybe do something else as well, just in case that doesn't work out, And so I didn't have, they were never negative about it, but, they were always wary and cautious about me going into that industry. And I didn't know anybody in the industry either. I didn't have a next door neighbour who happened to be the exec producer of so-and-so. I didn't go to a private school or anything like that. So I was Joe Bloggs, from state school, just trying to find my way. And so that's what I'm always thinking of when I'm thinking about people. I'm not looking for the Eton boys and girls and all the rest of it, I'm looking for everyday people. And so I feel that everybody has got something to offer, And so I look at the ways in which everybody can be interviewed. And if you've got a disability, or if you are from a low socioeconomic background, that should not be a barrier to you coming into the industry. So I'm really conscious about the fact that everybody can be a storyteller. And it's really important that people are given that opportunity. And I have to admit, there are a lot more pipelines now for people getting into the industry. When I started, I applied 200 jobs before I got my first job.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I was applying for things that I was completely not...
Director General.
I can be the DG. Going for all kinds of crazy roles because nobody had told me, no, actually, you're probably a runner at best, And so I didn't have that reality check at the time. And yes, I probably could have done this, that, and the other. But, I had to get that reality check. But I felt like I couldn't get that in. And then when I finally did get that in, I kind of, I navigated my way around it. But I think in answer to your question is that everything just needs to be more equitable, I think, when it comes to the application of roles and the interviewing of roles, because there's no reason why somebody from a low socioeconomic background should not be allowed to interview for something. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm going to start a campaign, literally, to change the word runner. Because, I can't physically run.
What?
So, I'm thinking we should just change. Wobbler.
I'm a staggerer. Roll.
But actually, in all seriousness, I came into the industry, as some of you on this panel know, I came straight in at researcher because we had a really great SP who understood that some disabled people physically can't do the running role.
I like it. I like what you're thinking. So because we can't do the running role, we go straight to DG. Straight to DG.
Well, via researcher. But, that entry-level role is just so tricky if you've got, any kind of impairments or access needs. So I think we should change the name. I don't know what to, but...
Can I just... I like your campaign. I like your campaign. But question to all of you, start with you, Vic. If you were starting in your career now, today, with what you know about TAP and the pipelines that we've been talking about, how would you maximise, for these people out there, how would you utilise what there is out there to progress in your career?
Was that a prep question, or have you just thrown that in?
That's a new one. That is a new one.
I do these things every now and again.
That one, isn't it? Cheeky. Okay, so I'd probably I'd be watching telly in a very different way, and I wouldn't be watching telly at 9 o'clock. I look at what my kids, who are 22 and 17, how they're consuming, what they're watching, all alien to me, until I realised that I probably couldn't, my own little company as a freelancer, really looking for the next hustle all the time, I can't rely on that traditional TV anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I've kind of tried to diversify and look for new opportunities for freelancers that aren't getting those daytime, roles that kind of keep the money coming through the door. And like really interesting, the last 3 or 4 months I've had a job from YMU. Who'd have thought?
Okay.
And then I got, oh my God, this is so funny. I got, oh my God, what are those two Irish singers that were on Pop Idol called? Not Pop Idol, X Factor.
Jedward.
Yeah.
Oh my
so
days.
I advertised.
We had them on exchange.
You got Jedward a job.
I advertised a job for JMU. It was the first YMU. I was like a big agency, and I got Jedward trying to link in with me on LinkedIn and said,
Times are tight.
Nice.
I saw them on an advert the other day.
Then that's a new client. But they were looking for a production coordinator who had live experience and events experience. Mm-hmm. Then I've got a very interesting one coming up this week. On Monday I've got a meeting with On. Now I didn't even know what it was until I said to my son, "What's that? The trainers, ON. Is it On Cloud or something?" Mm-hmm. So they've got massive media, promotional part, that are making videos and adverts and all the rest of it.
That's a really good point.
And I'm going to be advertising for a PC that wants to possibly relocate to Geneva.
Amazing.
Not everybody
I'm
would do
applying
that,
tomorrow.
obviously.
But it shows the landscape has changed.
Yeah,
It's changed completely.
Yeah, but I did a post on LinkedIn, I think it was last week, because I'm trying to get more work with digital first companies. And I don't get to sit in on every single interview or, kind of every single interview, particularly with, more indies. But I've made a point of sitting in on every digital first interview because I'm still learning. And I'm trying to get people from traditional tele backgrounds in front of those types of people. And there are things that I've learned really quickly. It's like an after party studios who make probably 70% of everything on 4.0. They make amazing stuff. Now, I know who my sidemen are. I know Harry Pinero. I know who's seen Specs Gonzalez, all these types of people that I never had a clue who they were a year ago. But I have to now, because that's what they're going to expect the people that I put in front of them to know.
Vic Roy, you're so cool.
I wouldn't say, my kids don't think so. But there are certain things, if you are wanting to get into that space, and I think we'll all be foolish to think that's not where the future is, then we've got to change in that time where you might be redoing your CV or catching up on docs on Netflix or whatever. I would say stop doing that. Just look at 4.0. Look at, if you're a football fan, don't just watch it on Sky Sports and listen to it on 5 Live. Watch your football teams, own YouTube channels and who's talking, because that's what you're going to be asked. And you can't blag those digital first those natives anyway, because they've been living and breathing it, and we've just got to get up to speed really quickly if we want to break into that.
Yeah. Love that.
But I think I'd be a fool to ignore and not get more work there.
Great. I love that answer so much that I'll get one more from one of you. Sam, please talk to me about your route.
If I was starting my career again,
Yeah.
It's really funny, as a disabled person entering the industry, not 25 years ago, but maybe 15. I was just you felt I was by myself. I was the only one. And you had to kind of pretend that you weren't disabled. I mean, impossible.
How did you do that, Sam?
I didn't actually manage it once because they called
I'm a runner.
They called me and interviewed me on the phone. And then after the phone call, I was like, oh, God, I didn't say. But they gave me the job, so I Googled it to make sure that the office was accessible and then turned up. And I can still remember that. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but they're a really big producer. And they just looked at me what? And then there were lots of hushed meetings happening in different groups. And then at the end,
love it.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, they were like, so, Sam, I'm really, really glad that you're here. You're doing a great job. It would have been great if you'd mentioned. I was like, I know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was fine. I ended up staying there for a really long time. But going back to TAP, the reason, if I was starting my career now with TAP and all of the resources being there, I would know I would have better resources to understand what I could ask for and what was available through the resources that are on Screen Skills websites. I would know where to signpost the production company by sending them to the PACT website for the producers toolkit, so that they would understand, if they didn't already know, what they needed to do and what they needed to be thinking about. I would know that if I needed additional financial support because of access adjustments that needed to be paid for, that I could tell the production, speak to the broadcaster because they've got their access funding. I could use the disability access passport to make me think about the kinds of adjustments that I might need, and then I could use that when I go from job to job to job. All of these things are available. The sense of community that TAP gives you means that actually one of the things that I love about my career now is that I've got friends like Ali, like Addy, people who are like disabled like me, because I didn't have that before. So I, have that sense of community where we can share experiences.
100 years ago,
I know. Don't tell them about the biscuits, Addy. So there's just like, that's the best thing. So I think whether you yourself are disabled or not, I think we can all do something to make the industry more accessible. So these resources are available for you if you're disabled, but also if you're not disabled, so that you can understand what you might need to do to make your production more accessible. And if each and every one of us, including me, because it's my job, but also if you do your bit too, we all make this industry better for everyone. So all it takes is for each of us to do a little bit, and we all start edging forward. So
oh my God, I'm Team Sam all the way.
I'm putting to my
Love that. Aren't you glad I went rogue and like that? Look, we're coming towards the end, and I'm sure you guys in the audience would love to ask some questions. I think JT has got the technology over here. And, have we got any questions? We do. Yeah? Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm going to represent the questions in the room. A lot of them for this session came in anonymously, which I can understand why, because it's quite a sensitive subject, isn't it? So, first one here is, and you kind of touched on this, Sam, any advice for navigating disability disclosure when applying for jobs? I'm fairly new to TV and worry that disclosing I have an invisible disability will make it less likely I will successfully get work.
This isn't like nobody can tell you what to do. It's a completely personal thing. Some people can't hide their disability, and some people can choose when they disclose it. I mean, as I've just told you, I somehow managed to hide it. But I would say that my advice to you would be, I would really encourage you to disclose it when you feel most comfortable. I would hope that anybody that you disclose to would take that information and do the right thing with it, which is to be open and to engage in the conversation with you about what they can do to support you. It's illegal for somebody to ask you before you've been offered the job. So you should disclose when you feel most comfortable, but you need to have the access that you need in order to do your best job. So if that is making sure that the interview venue is step-free, then you probably have to disclose before then. But I think it's a very personal thing, and there's no wrong or right answer. I think it's kind of down to you, but I'd hope that with all the education that's happened across the industry, and that we are all becoming more comfortable and confident talking about this, whether we are disabled or non-disabled ourselves.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll move on to the next one then. So this person says, my last few jobs have been through knowing an exec on a production and not through applying officially, like through a talent team. Do talent teams applying officially, does it have any real impact, or are they just going to hire the person anyway? So how do you get around that barrier? How do we sort of maneuver around that moment?
Is that into anyone in particular?
Did you say that somebody has got a job just by the exec has gone directly to them?
I think they're saying both ways. So they've benefited and also struggled. So they've benefited by knowing someone, but then struggled to get through that barrier because they don't know someone.
Well, then you do what everybody else does and go to talent manager or talent bases, or, you know, you look for the roles that, and then you apply for the ones that you are suitable for, you know. But that's what I'm saying, that there are some people that have obviously benefited from this kind of like, you know, my mate is putting this team together really quickly, and they happen to know me because I worked on the last series of Love Island with them, and so I'm cool. But then that's not making way for anybody else.
I hear you on that, but I raise you the value of championing someone and supporting them in their career.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get the balance right, but if you're a senior person and you've worked with someone who's brilliant, and particularly from an underrepresented group, particularly if they're disabled, because we know career progression is a huge thing, then maybe supporting that person is the right thing to do and giving that person that next opportunity, and maybe advertising it when you know you want to give it to so-and-so is not that fair on other people. I don't know.
What about somebody else that's trying to...
Yeah, but it's so difficult, isn't it?
Because, like, well, maybe you have to kind of make an agreement that only every other project can you help them with, you know.
Yeah.
You can't just be consistently like...
Only ever hiring one person.
The last 6 series, you know, you've had the same person working on it. I think it's that Ali does make a good point, though. In this industry, especially for people from diverse backgrounds, disability backgrounds, you need a champion. Yeah, you really do. It's so hard to make any headway without someone in one of these production companies or TV stations that is backing you. I agree. You do need that champion. You need that cheerleader. You absolutely do. But that cheerleader needs to also be cheerleading others and making a way for others to get in as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying they just cheerlead one person.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
But yeah, once you've got that person that is there and, you know, and is championing you, that's great. But somebody else is going to be needing a cheerleader as well, you know, and so they've got to be able to make way for somebody else as well.
It's an interesting one. You know, I think there's... because I think it's so difficult actually just for disabled people to make it through, and we always have this this sort of idea of one in, one out. You know, we've got one disabled person in, or one black person in, one woman in, right? And then, okay, you've had your turn, it's the next person who comes in, and that's really, you never see that happening with non-disabled people,
because you feel like, you know, you want a bit of loyalty from a company. You do want that. But there are so many people that are trying to break in as well that, you know, we've got to share the love somehow, you know, and I just feel that it's not fair for one person. It's a blessing for them, you know, and they must love it, you know, that, yeah, I've got this one person and you know, and they've been on the last 10 series of Strictly with me. And that's great. But then what about somebody who's trying to break into Strictly and can't?
I mean, you see that with non-disabled people all the time who are getting the last 10, 20 jobs. So I don't need to name names, but, you know, they've been championed and gotten all the way through. I'm not saying the answer is then to do it to people with disabilities, but I think in some way we need that advocacy, and we need it to be more than just words and lip service. Yeah.
I mean,
so I'm going to say something.
Yeah, just in answer to the question about like how do they break through? I think, you know, having somebody who's championing you and taking you from jobs that, you know, it's not something that necessarily people are totally advocating for, but I think if you've got that contact that's supporting you, great. But also at the same time, if you're thinking about how you get yourself seen through the talent managers and the various other people, it's really about thinking about how you're talking about your skills and your experience, making sure that you're really highlighting all of the great stuff that you've done, and really thinking about that, because as we've said throughout, and again, I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's so much competition out there, so making sure that you're standing out. So when you know that if you're applying to, I don't know, I'm a celeb, and obviously that's a big celebrity show, so really thinking about all of the great stuff that you've done working with celebs or whatever it is, like really just thinking bespoke about what that particular job is looking for, and making sure that you're really highlighting that so that your CV does stand out to the teams, because as Vic was saying, you know, everyone's swamped with applications at the moment. So really thinking how to make yourself stand out is going to be really key there.
I was going to say that earlier, actually, this idea that we've all got something distinctive that we're bringing to the role. And I talk to on-screen, when people are pitching documentaries or whatever, the same thing. Why is it that only you can do this role? What do you have? And that might well be your lived experience, your networking, your understanding, your empathy, your resilience, all those things. But actually lean into your difference, because that is what will make you stand out in a really busy crowd. And also, if you have someone championing you, great, but widen your networks, because if that person leaves telly, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So it's not pragmatic. Absolutely fine, but find 3-4 people that champion you and get yourself out there. There's nothing that substitutes building your profile, building those networks, getting out there. However, I know that's not always accessible to everyone, so come back to that.
Listen, thank you so much to our panel, and thank you to our audience for your questions. I know there was plenty more, but our time is running short. Look, I found that really fascinating. Interesting. There was a lot of different perspectives and points of views and useful things. And I hope the takeaway for you guys out there is that change is coming. There is a desire to make that change. We know there is structural problems. We know there are problems on many different levels. But there are people here, really good, powerful people who are making a difference. And I also think don't underestimate the power of community. We have a community here, and there's more of us and more of us out there. Start networking. I used to underestimate the power of networking. You never know who you chat to and what difference that 5-minute conversation with one person could make to you later on in your career. So harness that community, know that change is coming, and we are doing things. And please never give up. We need you in the industry. Don't go away. We need you here, please. Look, thank you very much once again to my panel. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Vic Roy, Sam Tatlow, VJ Davidson and Ali Castle.